Hey guys, it's Maris. Welcome back to Harpies in the Trees, where I review horror books with a supernatural focus. Hey guys, I hope you're doing well. Sorry I didn't have a video for last week. I was distracted by writing and editing a short story that I wrote for an anthology that I have been asked to be a part of, which was so nice and so kind because even though I do write things here and there, I don't really consider myself an author. So I hope it's good and I hope that people enjoy it. I will share it with you when I can. I definitely plan on doing a creepy reads for it. I feel like I can really push the limits too because it's like my work, so if I make it too weird or something, I only have me to answer for. So I was working on that, and also I've been talking to a favorite author of mine and they've asked me to do a book trailer for them. And if it all works out and it all goes to plan, it'll be very cool and exciting. So I've been writing and editing and coordinating and this week, so it's been kind of exciting. Today I have a really cool book review to do. It's for two books. One is Flesh by Richard Laymon, which I just recently finished, and another one is Joyride by Jack Ketchum, which I had actually did a buddy read with the wonderful and lovely Jordan Reads. That was very cool because, you know, it's been my goal this year to sort of step out of my comfort zone a bit and just explore other genres in horror. You know, just want to get a little darker, bloodier, you know, scarier kind of stuff. And I just want to experiment. And these two books were really cool stepping stones, so I'll be talking about those today. But before we get into those, like always, let's do a few message shoutouts and then we'll get into it. These comments are from the book tag I just recently did. It was called The Horror of 2020, and I am so sorry, you guys. I totally forgot to tell you the name of that Adam Neville book, Weird and Other Derelictions. I was having a really spacey day and I was spacing out on a lot of stuff, so I'm so sorry about that. I'm sorry it was confusing. And in that video I mentioned the book Hex. And you probably know Bookaboos. It's Alex from Hey Little Thrifter. I think she updated her channel name and it's really cool. I like this name, the Bookaboos. She says, I felt the same way about Hex. I thought there were some interesting ideas, but it just fell kind of flat. And I totally agree that they should have kept the original location. If you've read Hex by Thomas Oldhoivold, I think that's why you say his name. It's a witch story about a very small town that's trying to keep her contained and away from the rest of the world. And it's a really cool premise, but it just didn't really work for me. And that was, I think, just one of the one or two books that I DNF'd in 2020. But I know that a lot of people did enjoy it. So if you like witches, check it out. Riveting Read says, that is so cool that you sketched while you read. Sometimes I have trouble visualizing while I'm reading. That is a really big problem for me too. And for Weird and Other Derelictions, which are stories that are devoid of any human presence, it's just the absence of humanity. So you're just being described locations and you have to figure out what happened in this place. And it's more descriptive than normally Neville's writing would be, but it makes sense for that situation. So I did sketch out objects and things that I was seeing as I was reading them because I really wanted to figure out the mystery, and that really helped. Insanity Reader says, oh, I love Flesh by Laymon. Waiting for your review and see your thoughts on it. I enjoyed it and we are going to get into it right now. Our story begins with a man in a van. He's driving down a road and he sees in front of him, not too far ahead, somebody on a bike. He starts having a conversation with himself and decides that this is the one. It doesn't matter if it's a child or an adult, this is the one. And he begins to pick up speed in his van and he starts to run this person down. The person on the bike is a young woman and she is trying frantically to let him know that he can just pass. He can just go around her. There's no use for speeding up and trying to scare her. But she eventually realizes too late as she's sailing through the air after he's tried to hit her, that he was trying to kill her. But fortunately, he crashed, and his guts all over the inside of the van prove that he didn't make it. A detective comes on scene, and he starts investigating, and he sees that there's a trail of blood leading away from the van, and he decides to follow this trail and eventually come upon a corpse. That's what he's expecting, because nobody could survive having their guts out of their body hanging from a rearview mirror in a van. As he's trying to find the perpetrator, he loses the trail, and he's very unsettled by this, because there's just something wrong about this whole situation. Really, really wrong. So this story is quintessential 80s, 90s. All of the characters are definitely stereotypes that we've seen before, especially in 80s horror movies. We have three best friends who are all in college. One is the hot girl who's kind of slutty. We have the girl next door who's innocent but very hot. And then we have the overweight best friend who is kind of surly and slovenly. We have a detective who wears tight leather jeans, and we have another detective who's older, who's kind of from the old school, talks kind of like vintage film. And we have a nerdy horror film lover who wears t-shirts like
"Ghouls just want to have fun."
And the detective also has a very adorable blonde, blue-eyed daughter who's like 4 or 5 years old, and we have his ex-wife who is a superficial gold digger who's very hot as well, and you know, she's nearly middle-aged now at 28 years old. So we have our cast of very stereotypical characters that we all are really familiar with, especially in horror, and also the mix of gore and humor and sex, they all kind of come together in that very classic kind of way, I guess we could say. As soon as the book starts, the action just begins right away. We have a guy driving down the street, and you know, he's already committing a crime, and it just really takes off from there. There's a lot of humor. There are a few moments that are just really funny. One of the moments that I thought was hilarious was like the detective and his ex-wife, like they don't get along. She's remarried to some goober or something, and he's there to pick up his daughter for the day to go hang out with his kid. And she sashays into the living room wearing nothing but a very short and very silky kimono. And she's really trying to fuck with him. She's like reaching up to open the blinds, and obviously her robe is too short, so she's giving him a show. And there's this one point where she's like touching herself, you know, touching the silky fabric, and she's like, "Ooh, scrumptious." And he's just, "What are you trying to do?" There's only two people in the world that I know that say scrumptious. One is Gowan, and one is that lady from the British baking show. But that scene is meant to be funny. It's like hilarious. It's just so silly. The story is pretty gory. There is this kind of parasite, worm-like creature that is attaching itself to humans in a really gross kind of way. But it's a weird symbiotic relationship that is almost sexual. And this book is a lot of sexual stuff going on. The gore is really cool. I thought it was super well done. And I liked the pace. The pace is like, it flows really well. It kind of moves pretty quickly. So it's definitely like a popcorn book to me, which I would call it a popcorn book, I guess. It was, you know, just kind of fun and frivolous. So this is something I would, for myself at least, as you guys know, I don't read a lot of like monster horror or a horror that's kind of based on just murder and mayhem or something. Like, I go to true crime for that. The problems that I had with it though were just like the sexism was a little strong for me. As an example, I know probably every inch of the naked bodies of the female characters, but I don't really know that much about the male characters. I don't even really know what the male characters look like. So that to me is kind of an issue, because I do like character-driven stuff. So I do prefer a little more out of my characters than kind of just being eye candy. And because all of the characters were so sexualized, it really made the overweight friend stand out, because it was because her character was the only female character that wasn't fuckable. There is a part where there's someone who's trying to kill her and she's already dead. He's like more disgusted by her weight than her being dead. And so there's just like a few things where, you know, it's a little... So I felt bad for that character. And that's one of the reasons why I haven't read vintage horror as much, because I used to read it as a kid. And when I would read something that had like something racist in it, you know, it just sucked. Obviously, these books were not written for a 14-year-old multiracial girl, you know, they were written for a different type of audience. But that's why I've been hesitant to read vintage horror again, because I kind of just didn't want to come across that stuff. So Flash was really fun, and I did enjoy reading it, even though I found that it was a bit problematic in some parts. So I gave it 3 stars. Our story begins with Carol and Lee, and they have decided that they need to kill Carol's ex-husband. And the reason why they've come up with this is because he is an abusive piece of shit. And both of them can't stand it anymore. So they do hatch a plan, and it goes off very well, except for one thing. In the woods where they killed her ex-husband, there just happens to be a man from town in the woods. He's actually in the woods with his wife because they were fooling around. But after she kind of pissed him off, he left her and went walking. And this is when he came across Carol and Lee murdering the ex-husband. He witnesses this, and he decides that he finds a perfect opportunity. And this opportunity is to abduct these 2 people and take them along with him on a crime spree. This book is pretty graphic, and unlike Laymon's Flesh, this is totally not a funny, good time book. This is definitely a very harrowing tale of being abducted in the hands of a maniac and being forced to do some really terrible stuff. And our main character, Carol, has been through hell and back. So it seems really unfair that this has to happen to her when she just got rid of one monster and another one pops up. The psychosis of Wayne comes across like really, really well. Like, too well. Super creepy and scary. If you watched my No One Gets Out Alive review by Adam Neville, he has a character named Knacker who kind of, that character just exudes like this similar type of just like fucked up mental state. You know, like, you're never getting through to this motherfucker. Wayne is exactly the same way. You're never getting through to this dude. He only has one desire, and he's gonna make you do it. So that was really creepy. And I guess I enjoy that. I think it's because it gives me like it just unnerves me. But the thing about the story, about how it plays out and how Carol and Lee are kept with Wayne, and it was just kind of unbelievable for me. It seemed like there were a lot of opportunities for them to get away. I didn't really understand why they were staying. Obviously, Wayne is a psychopath and he's very scary, but I felt that there were opportunities where they could have done something, but they don't seem to do much. There's one thing when you're in a situation where you have no opportunity to make your move, so you really have to be careful and plan. But this was different, you know? They're like on the road, they're going to diners, they're in public. I don't know. So that was just kind of, I think my feeling about it was just, it was a little unbelievable. But I liked everything else that was kind of going on. It was just fucked up. It was really fucked up. And the ending I felt was kind of cathartic. So that was good. I also feel like because Carol had been through so much shit, like she had just been, like the abuse that she goes through with her ex-husband is like out of this world. And I can't even imagine her breaking point. I can't even imagine, like, I feel like she would have just fucking lost it at a certain point and just been like, I'm done with you dudes trying to destroy me. That kind of came, but it was sort of mild, kind of came a little late. So I really felt for Carol. I think she was the most sympathetic character here. I think that was more interesting than the other aspect of being abducted by this fucking psycho and being held captive. My rating for Joyride is 4 stars. I did enjoy it. I thought it was pretty creepy. This is my first Ketchum book. Everyone tells me that Girl Next Door is the book to read. And I wanted to read that one, but it was actually pretty hard for me to get a hold of. So those are my 2 reviews for 2 books out of my comfort zone in so many ways. I hope that you enjoyed them. Let me know what your thoughts are on these 2 books. Like I said, I don't really read a lot of fiction like this. So let me know if I missed something. I'm always open to discussing it. Thank you so much for spending your time with me this evening. I really appreciate it. If you liked this video, please like and subscribe. It helps me out a lot. If you'd like to support me and this channel, you can join my Patreon. Thank you so much to the Blood Crones for your support. It means so much to me. Please take care of yourselves, wear a mask, and watch out for each other. I'll talk to you next time.